How y'all doing, folks? We're going to make another staple of southern cooking tonight. We're going to make a Brunswick stew, which is arguably from either Brunswick, Georgia or Brunswick County in Virginia. Well, they have lots of fights over that one. But it's an old-fashioned, classic southern dish. So we're going to make it up, and I think it's going to be fantastic. And it's one of these things that the old days it used to be made from squirrel and possum and rabbit and stuff, but today we're going to make it more along the lines of the southern style from Georgia with a whole bunch of ingredients: beef, chicken, pork. It's kind of a leftover sort of thing where you can get going with it. We'll start off with just browning up some onion, making it translucent, and then we're going to add some meats. But there's a lot of ingredients. You can see there's beef, pork, and chicken. We've got some seasonings here. We've got some diced tomato. We've got some cream corn, lima beans, some tomato paste, lemon juice, some apple cider vinegar. It's a southern dish. It's going to have apple cider vinegar. Some salt and pepper. It's going to have a little spice with some Frank's hot sauce and a little Worcester sauce. And it's all going to combine up into being a Brunswick stew. Now, we're going to add some water to it, and it's going to become almost like a soup. And some people, it is a soup. But we're going to boil it down a little bit and thin it, thicken it up, and make it into a classic stew that is absolutely delicious if you serve it over rice. And that's what we're going to do tonight. Once it's cooked up. Now this takes about an hour and a half to simmer once we get all this cooking, and should be delicious. So I will let you know. But basically we are just browning up some onion, and then I'm going to add the meats to it, let them come to temperature. Now the meats, you'll notice, are all cooked already. These are leftovers. So I've got some stewing beef that was left over, some pulled pork that was also left over, and some chicken that I just made up and then pulled the bone out of it and the skin and all the grisly parts. And I'm going to add that in there because I like the 3 different types of meats in a Brunswick stew. Okay, those onions have come along and nice and translucent now, so we're going to throw in the beef, get that going. We're going to throw in the chicken, get that going, and we're going to throw in the pork, get that going. And it's a stew. You know, if you leave it thick, or sorry, if you leave it thin, it's just almost like a vegetable soup with some meat thrown in it. And that's why we're going to thicken it up. And I tend to use up a lot of my leftover meats here, so it tends to have a fair bit in there. So we're just going to heat that up and go from there. Okay, so we've been cooking up this meat for a few minutes. You have to excuse me, I'm going to stir with my right hand, even though I'm left-handed. It seems to work better for the video. But it's time to add in some more ingredients. So what we're going to start with is some diced tomato, including the sauce. We're going to throw that in there. We're going to throw in a little bit of apple cider vinegar. And again, I'll put the recipe up at the end so you can see it. And a little bit of lemon juice. And then some tomato paste. Get that in there. I find it a lot easier if you prepare all these ingredients into little ramekins before you start it. Because some of these steps have to go fairly quickly, and this makes it easy. Okay, so we're going to mix that in and let it cook for a bit. Okay, so we're just going to let that cook down a little bit, not too much. And then we're going to add the veggies. We're going to add some cream corn and some lima beans. You can throw okra in here. You can throw lots of different things, kind of whatever you've got. I'm doing it in a Dutch oven, a cast iron Dutch oven, because I don't care what people say. You cook in cast iron, it just tastes better. And so I do. Okay, so I've got this over a medium to medium-high heat at the moment. And we're going to add in the veggies now. This is some cream corn going in. And some lima beans. Now you can just use canned ones, you can use frozen ones, it doesn't really matter. We get them in there. And then we're going to add a little bit of Worcester sauce, a couple of tablespoons worth, something like that. And the same thing with Frank's hot sauce, or Texas Pete, whatever hot sauce you've got on hand. I use Frank's because that's kind of my cure-all ingredient. Whenever a recipe isn't working, I just throw Frank's in it and it's delicious. Okay, so now what we're going to do is cover this with water. There we go. And it's kind of soupy right now, but we're now going to bring that up to a boil. I'll turn up the heat a little bit. And then once it gets to a boil, we're going to reduce it down, simmer it for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, until we get it to the consistency that I want it. And we're going to add some seasonings as well. Okay, so the next thing we're going to add is some sugar, just some plain white sugar, about half a tablespoon. We'll be using a teaspoon. About half a tablespoon of red pepper flakes. Add a little bit of bite to it, not too much. And then we're going to add 3 tablespoons of pepper. Again, this is kicking it up a little bit. And a couple of tablespoons of salt. I try not to overdo the salt. Okay, let's mix that in. We got it coming up to a boil. And in about an hour to an hour and a half, we're going to have Brunswick stew. I'm going to watch it and I'm going to stir it as we go because I don't want the meat sticking to the bottom. And I do want to thin this out a little bit. You can see it's pretty thin right now, but I want it to be a stew, not a vegetable and meat soup. Okay, here we go. Okay, we've been about an hour and a half making this Brunswick stew, and it looks real good. It is really good looking stuff. So we're going to give it a little test. Well, that's good. Now, this recipe is pretty spicy. If you're not big into spices, you might want to cut back a little on the pepper or the red pepper flakes or even the Frank's hot sauce, because this has got a little bite to it. So we're ready to go. I've made up a little bit of rice here. I'm going to throw that down on the bottom and try our stew. I'm going to serve this with a little side salad, and we got one heck of a really nice supper. The nice thing of this too is it really freezes well. So whatever you've got left over, throw it in the freezer and you can entertain for a long time to come. And there you go, Brunswick stew.